First on the agenda is from Ali about documenting config vars that require restart.
Hey, so this is something that the Red Hat documentation team wanted, and there was a downstream bug open for it. The approach I took was I have a list of all of the config vars in a spreadsheet. Be happy to send it out, and I just gone, I think, 20 at a time, and if I thought that the config var was cached in any way, or if it ended up getting returned as a part of a function call, I marked it as needs restart. And if not, if it was just in line, I left it as runtime in the spreadsheet. And I'm about halfway done. The process is pretty quick. And less than 20%, I would even say maybe even around 10% of the config variables can be changed at runtime or are in line. I'd want some more eyes on the people that actually wrote some of these config variables, but the blanket recommendation I had was to just say that all of the anytime you change a config variable, you need to restart RGW. But I don't think that's the direction we want to move in as a product. And I was wondering what other people's thoughts were. I know Matt had mentioned that, at least from the IBM side, that there's desire to have less restarts and to be able to configure things at runtime more.
Current for
I think there are people here that can provide, maybe the Bloomberg host can talk a little bit about the reasons why they want to avoid restarts. But I think there are challenges in having the claim in controlling the semantics of config variables changing inconsistently during rolling upgrades, things like that. We need to understand what the semantics we're trying for are and how to chart a path to getting to ones that are acceptable at scale.
Yeah, so if we do have a list of these variables somewhere, maybe it would be a good idea to try to prioritize some that require restart that it would be especially useful to have runtime support for, and we can discuss kind of what the constraints are or the consistency issues around it.
Yeah, I was gonna add, like, I was gonna say go on it from a subcomponent basis, like all the GC ones or the LC ones or the Keystone ones, or there's usually pretty big families of config variables in there. But I think Casey's approach is even more granular and better for that. I'll share the list out. Give me a second. In Red Hat Google Docs, I can't make those public, right? So I need to put it in either a personal Google Doc or something like that, or just put it in a pad. I'll shoot something out. That's all the discussion I had. Is anybody from Bloomberg on the call and have a comment or know anybody else there that we could reach out to keep this discussion upstream? That is.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have that the document, the variables which would be impacting in terms of restarting, as we said, right? Like we run at scale, so it is kind of trivial for us to just kind of restart the gateways straight away. So it'll be nice to have that document first so that we could run with our team and then kind of have some feedback on that.
Yeah. And so I haven't gone through every single config variable yet. Once I saw a pattern that the majority of the config variables, at least in my opinion, required restart, or I would have felt better restarting the gateway. I kind of left it at that, but I'll send you the list of all the variables and what I've done so far, and I'll send it out to the team too if people want to look and take a look at the work I've done or change anything.
Sure.
There's almost 400 config variables.
Ah.
That's why I stopped when I stopped and didn't want to go any further. 350, same thing. There's a lot of config variables.
Yeah.
Ali, I remember that you opened a PR at some point trying to add a flag to Ceph's config option infrastructure.
Yeah. Let me dig that up and remember what that did.
I think I got it here. I'll add a link to the agenda. So I think I still like this approach, and I think that if we do add something for this, then adding that flag to these variables in a case-by-case basis would be a good way to make progress, and then we would also be able to use that flag to audit the ones that we want to fix.
Sorry, Pali, just to get the background, this is more like variables which need to go into ceph.conf versus putting into the config DB, which traditionally does not require restart. Like all the variables which would not work by setting it at the config DB level.
I think that the config DB versus ceph.conf thing is separate.
These are just in general variables that if you change the value would require restarting the gateways irrespective where you change them, right? That's
right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I copied this over to a personal Google Sheet. Okay. I think we can move on, and or if anybody wants to take a look at that right now, they can go ahead. I just pasted the link on the agenda or in the meeting chat. And I want to emphasize this is not the source of truth. This is just me taking a stab at it. All of the variables are in alphabetical order. I think I stopped right around the LC or all the LC related config.
If you could just grant permission, that's kind of blah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can change it to editor. Give me a second. Is that better?
Still not able to open it. I guess. No.
Oh, okay. Do you want to shoot me your email address?
Sure.
I have this under my personal Gmail now, so I should be able to.
Yep.
Well, I think it's maybe due to Bloomberg constraints on that. I can access it with my personal
email. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Probably I can try accessing with the personal one. Yep, sure. I will have access to it. Yep. No worries. Yep. Thanks, Ali. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I'll add a new column or tab to this column. Sorry, column to this sheet about something that would for a high priority investigation into whether restarts required or not. Let me take a look at that PR that Casey had sent out in the agenda. So, Casey, what you're suggesting, and I think I like this approach, is that we merge my PR so that the flag can be added to the docs upstream, or at least for the RGW config variable docs. And then as we figure out the list of config variables that we would like to be able to enable or move from requiring restart to able to change at runtime, we tag those as restart, and then as they get converted over, we change it to runtime. Is that kind of what you're saying in a nutshell?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. And I'll shoot you. Is it Grunal?
Yep.
I'll shoot you a follow-up email about this too, just so that
Thanks, Ali.
we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Great. That's it for me here.
Thanks, Ali. Any other thoughts on this? All right, next on the agenda from Matt is about potentially impactful multi-site projects and how to kind of coordinate these upstream. I know that we've got some downstream docs kind of trying to track a backlog, but we'd like to find the right way to track that upstream as well. My suggestion there was to use tracker issues. What do you guys think? What's the best way to work on this?
If we're to use tracker, I think it needs to be easy to read as or work on as a doc, so you can see just filter by it and that kind of thing. Is that a dual? Is that feasible? Otherwise, we could create a ad or public doc or something.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What's the advantage of a doc?
We want to be able to rapidly manage just the backlog. It's different from there's no problem with them. They're all issues, so they can all go in the tracker. But it needs to be easy to get the query, say, for the backlog. I would say. I'm saying that's my point.
Okay. Well, I do use a multi-site tag on the tracker. We could create a custom query that searches just for that. Another option would be to create a separate sub-project under RGW just for multi-site stuff. But I think my preference would be to keep it all the same so that we see them during bug scrubs.
Can we make another tag? So we have this tag and that tag. It's a multi-site and it's the block here. It's the backlog tag.
Yes.
Because I like that idea too.
All right. I can take an action item to add a custom query for those two tags. So it shows up on the right side of the tracker.
I think what Matt was also advocating for was a separate tag just for whatever subset of tracker issues that it's going to be joint engineering work or work that they can take on.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. The query, I think, would search for multi-site and multi-site backlog tags.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Or maybe just the one. So we currently have the RGW bug scrub call every Thursday. Would there be a benefit to having a separate scrub for the backlog, or maybe a monthly meeting or something?
I think it could be this meeting, possibly, or a part of.
Sure. I think we've also floated the idea of creating a standing meeting for multi-site stuff, but I have no problem with using this meeting for it also.
I have no opinion. I guess that's fair too. If we can actually commit to doing that upstream, and if the multi-site team can organize it, that'd be fine too.
Okay, so I think the other action item would be to go through these backlog documents and break them up into tracker issues, either as bugs or tasks and subtasks. Shilpa, maybe you and I can work on that.
Yeah, we'll take them up as trackers. I think I just have listed the backlog, but yeah, I haven't really broken them down into tasks. So yeah, we can do that.
So just to understand this, Matt, correctly, is like, so what are you talking about? You and Shilpa have a document right now in terms of which could potentially be a multi-site projects, but they're currently in the Docker in the document, and then what Casey is suggesting, we could add them to the tracker and tag them as multi-site backlog. Is that the plan?
Well, as backlog and then as multi-site, right?
Yep. And then as and then probably invite, or it's up for anyone to grab that project and then kind of attend this call and then discuss about the progress. That's the idea.
Well, that was part of the idea. The other part of the idea was maybe to talk here about what the most interesting, challenging multi-site backlog projects would be that you guys might want to tackle.
Definitely, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, try to decide on
While
the
we're here,
priority. Yeah,
the workflow dimension as well. So in other words, the context is Bloomberg asked about whether we're going to keep working on the sync fairness, data sync fairness part of that multi-part fix, and the answer is yes. I mean, Shilpa's deeply involved in it. We're about to merge the first part, but we don't think it'll be more efficient to hand it off to Bloomberg to do it. We can quite at this stage we've done the work. But having said that, we can pick a different thing, and this is sort of a gap, right? What are the ideal things to work on, and maybe what's the context? And so the people are here, Casey, Shilpa, Soumya can all help feedback. What are good ideas? Dialogue with you about what's on our list. So maybe we can maybe we can share that list in the doc and in the pad for discussion here.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. So more side was not my kind of taking away. It was more about collaborating, or kind of exactly similar thing. Like we now, like, I don't know about this, Casey. I was telling Matt yesterday in the email, like since the beginning of this quarter in April, Bloomberg has got a new team which has set of 6 developers, which are going to be working only for for the Ceph side. And so we basically at this point in time are looking for projects where we could help in, kind of chime in. It could be a collaboration project. It could be an independent project as well. So the first, I mean, for us, the sync fairness was more of importance because we have multi-site in our production earlier. So that was the one thing we were looking to kind of get traction on. So that's why we kind of shoot email to Matt saying that is there any way we could contribute there. Basically, it was not like working independently, but more about contribution or kind of get this over the line with the folks we have. Yeah.
Well, you can help there too. I mean, we can greatly as we put together the branch, that has data log, data sync fairness. We'd be delighted to have you to help us test it and find things. But but we should also give you, the opportunity to take on new fixes, take on new tasks.
Yep.
Or project.
Yep. Talking about that, I just forgot to mention that, right? Like we did test the metadata sync fairness PR, and it seems to be working great. So we, given like kind of leveraging the machines or the test framework or infrastructure that we have at Bloomberg, it might like the way we tested the replication work. We can always kind of chime in also on testing any kind of bugs or any PRs. If that also a form of help that we could provide as well.
Yeah, sure, Franz. So I have something going on for data sync fairness, and I should have a PR soon. So once I have that, I'll add you and the folks you want to add them on the PR, and you could just take it up for testing.
Perfect.
Or-
Yeah, we could patch the PR, like run the test and just update the PR itself with the test results. If that's the case, we could be looking forward to even join the call weekly and then kind of provide inputs there as well. Yep.
Yeah, that would be of great help.
Sure. And also again, open for also kind of development work, since I said that we have a team of 5 that are looking for development projects.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have shared the document on the Etherpad.
Sure.
So me and Casey will work on breaking them down into trackers and tasks within, and then you're free to pick up whatever you want.
Awesome. That makes sense. Probably again, it could be same editing issue. So this time I did not try with the Bloomberg, but I'm not able to access even outside.
I think
Yeah.
putting them in tracker will give some more clarity for you.
Sure.
Which people access. Yeah.
Are there any pre-discussion we might want to do here about which things are sort of we sort of know are in the top, our sorted top list, that's sort of our hot list?
Yeah. One of them was the thing that you mentioned, Matt, about cleaning up of deleted bucket index objects, which already has a tracker. I can put that here. 1 second. Yeah, I have put that in the in-call messages. And then we definitely need help with having working multi-site functional tests. And currently, I think it's kind of broken, and we haven't really been able to dedicate time to fixing that. So we would need some help with improving our functional tests upstream. And then there are other things like, we don't have a good retry mechanism for Rados gateway admin commands when one of the RGWs go down. And then there is one that you've already picked up, which is the race with object deletion. And there is also one of the other issues is versioning. That's with a null ID isn't working with multi-site. I think I'm not sure if someone in our team is already working on it. I don't have info on that, but I will still create a tracker, or if there is already a tracker, I will put that there. I think these are some of the things that are that I can get from the top of my head. But is there anything else you want to add, Casey, Soumya, anything from Sync Info Provider or from anything else? I don't know.
I think I would just like to stress prioritizing fixing the functional tests, because we could take on all these other projects, but without good test coverage, it's hard to verify that they work. So I think
I absolutely agree. Yes.
Worth starting with the tests.
It's interesting, sort of at a meta level, there are other sort of problems with how the testing was designed or framed back in 2016 that's making it harder to tackle.
Well, I think it's just the distributed nature of multi-site makes it hard to test kind of in general. A lot of the tests are kind of timing based, or at least they'll time out after a while, and we see a lot of issues in the Toothology environment just because some of the parts are slow, but investigating exactly where those happen is difficult and hasn't really happened.
I think it's worth it. This is just, I don't want to throw a wrench into everything, but I think it's worth bringing especially when with folks here like from like Cornell and others that can bring maybe a fresh perspective on how you test, how you validate replication at scale in production workload. Might be worth saying, okay, well, how would we solve that problem? What's in test multi? And look at the cross product of that. Solving the problems of topology is sort of orthogonal, and over time, in the first instance, what do we want to do, and what are the constraints required to do it, and then we can look at the problem of what is topology serving us, or is topology broken in some respect we can fix, or other sort of I don't know. Otherwise heterodox questions maybe have answers that can help us. I'm not sure that's a right phrase, but look at it from a first perspective and try to understand what the real root causes are. That if they're not just typing more Python.
Well, regarding the Python tests as they are, I have had better luck running them locally against vstart. I don't see nearly as many of the failures that we get regularly in Toothology, but running locally doesn't really scale to PR testing of features upstream. So I do think that the Toothology piece is important to get in and make consistent.
Right. Okay. So, but maybe it's as much a problem with some aspect of how Toothology is running than as with our tests, or maybe there are pieces that our concepts that can be added to Toothology, barriers, or I don't know what. I'm trying to think out of the box, but just making things up. But that we try to figure out as part of this process.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the things are timing related, especially the one of the major causes of failures is metadata sync just getting stuck and all of the tests failing on that. I'm not sure how timing in Toothology would cause that to happen unless there's a discrete bug.
Well, there were discrete bugs in the past.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, I think Mark has been working on that, and we did notice some invalidation attempt failures with regards to the notify, RGWSI notify, robust notify, and that's where we are timing out.
Okay. Another thing during the multi-site reshard project, bucket sync changed a lot, and somewhere along the line, the multi-site tests, which used to take about 5 minutes to complete, are taking more like 30 to 45 minutes. So there may be just multi-site sync performance issues in there that we haven't identified that could be part of the cause for timeouts in Toothology tests. But Matt, I agree that we should look at other things outside of this functional test framework. You mentioned more scaled workload stuff. I also think that in the opposite direction, some smaller unit testing would help a lot, so that we're just testing small pieces in isolation instead of all the complexity of the whole distributed system.
Yeah, that's
But
a smart idea too.
The existing
There are a lot of projects come out of that.
make it really hard to do that, unfortunately.
What does?
The existing coroutine framework and all of the dependencies that are kind of tangled together in the sync code.
So we've got, well, okay, so that becomes a little bit simpler soon-ish, summertime or something.
Yes, it does. Also, should we drop for the all hands?
Oh, isn't it? Is there one active right now? I thought that was canceled.
Oh, if it was, then I'm mistaken. But I thought it was at 12 Eastern.
Are you talking about it?
he's talking about the like the storage BU one with that
Is it
that's recorded.
okay? I better join that. Yeah. Okay. I think that. I mean, that's the thing right now. We better go do that. Those of us who are friends of Dennis.
Friends of Dennis. Now that's a euphemism.
Okay, well, we've got some action items, mostly on the tracker. From Bloomberg's side, I would, you guys should always feel free to create tracker issues for issues that you find or projects that you want to work on, and
Sure.
that's what we can use to coordinate.
Okay. Do we have any tracker right now for the fair data sync issue or the fairness issue? Like I did see a tracker, but then there's not a lot of update on that. Is there any other tracker apart from that you guys are tracking or working with?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So Shilpa, real quick, what's the status of metadata sync fairness? I know it got a
Metadata sync-
technology run. Was that a pass?
Yeah, I think it's good to be merged.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there were other PRs in there too. Are those good?
Yes, all of them.
As long as they have approvals, you can go ahead and merge those.
Okay, will do. So as for data sync, I'm just yeah, I think I'm still working on it. Once I have something passing, I'm just going to let you know, Krunal. And
Sure. Thanks,
yeah.
Shilpa. Yep. We can always leverage testing, and we can provide you the test results or something if the skill testing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looking forward for collaborating there, and looking forward for all the trackers on the documents that you have, probably where we can help in from the development perspective. Yep. Looking
Definitely.
forward to it as well. Yep. So you said that you have not yet given the permission for the document. You plan to add it to the tracker and then.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Anything else for this call? Great. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you.
See you.